Hi everyone, welcome. I'm out here in my garden preparing to feed my outdoor worm bag. And ever since this system has been in service, which is only 54 days now, we've always come back at 2-week intervals, but on this occasion we're coming back after 12 days. And it's really only because every time I feed a system, it pretty much just goes to the end of the line, and then the next time it gets fed is when it has once again become the system where the greatest amount of time has passed since the last feeding. And I'm not sure, I think there were a couple days recently where I prepared 2 videos per day, and perhaps that's the reason I've managed to somehow get ahead of the curve here. So we're coming back a little quicker than normal, although in most cases after coming back each time 14 days after the previous check-in, we've almost always found no leftovers. And I believe the same story will apply today, because I'm pretty sure we fed stuff last time too, which were going to be pretty fast composting type things. I think it was mainly fruits. I think berries, like an assortment of berries, might have been what we fed here last time. So I just kind of went around the entire system randomly, kind of stirring in the somewhat drier material out on the surface. Although I must admit, not much material in here is dry. It's almost all got a really nice, comfortable moisture level to it. The system is, as you can tell, a grow bag, but it's not just one grow bag, it's 2 grow bags, one within the other, double bagged, and in between the two, as you can see, there's a plastic liner, giving this system much greater moisture retention capability than if it was just this fabric alone. And then with that fairly sturdy top covering of plywood, the system really has a good capability of hanging on to its moisture. So I've pretty much gone through the system about twice now, aerating everything and stirring it all up. So I think we can proceed to creating a little bit of a divot down the middle into which we could place today's foods. Oh, look at that. There's a little bit of a worm party happening right here in the middle. As I excavate and pull up some of the material, I'm noticing these handfuls of worms that I pulled up were just a little bit more densely populated than what I'd noticed earlier. Okay, that's cool. Even though we somehow ended up with a fairly high worm count estimate for this system, over the past few check-ins I've just been getting this feeling like there's not all that much worm activity going on in here. But if you look a little bit more carefully and you just slow down a bit, you do notice movement almost everywhere. Perhaps I've always just been a little bit too rushed coming in here and moving stuff around and jostling stuff and not taking the time to just look around and see all the wormy action in here. Yeah, I think the last video was not even 8 minutes long. It was just a quick in and out. I was actually kind of surprised at how quickly the video played out last time, and it seems like we're kind of on track to have another very quick in and out sort of check-in here with these little guys. Today's video, or well, today's feeding, is going to consist of all these leaves that I pretty thoroughly soaked. I've since poured off the water, but this thing was filled with water to get all these leaves in here nice and soaked. These are the same leaves that I take down into my wormery. I was over there reloading my box with all the leaves in it, and I also took the time to load up this milk carton here so that we can come in here with a nice thoroughly soaked batch of leaves. Obviously the leaves that I take downstairs to the wormery go down there dry, but these I stuck into a little bath of water before bringing them over here, giving them a little drainage, thinking that there's probably not going to be a great deal of need for much extra moisture in here. but I didn't want to drop them in here dry, not knowing what to expect as far as moisture goes. But I must say the moisture level in here is pretty good. And what I've got for the worms today is not very colorful of feeding. It's just some coffee. And I don't even think we need to give them this entire amount. I think we've only emptied out about half what was in here, and it already seems like a fairly generous portion. Although, you know, if it's going to be another 10, 12, 14 days, who knows, before we get back in here again, it might not seem like all that much of a generous portion. But you got to keep in mind that the bedding that you're giving the worms also serves as food for them, so they won't go hungry, that's for sure. And I am glad to see that the moisture level in here is as nice as it is. Nice and cozy. Oh, and here's that little length of twine that we keep bumping into here. I'm assuming that it's twine, and I'm assuming that it's probably got about 100 days before it breaks down. I think about 100 days is generally what we find when the twine starts to really disintegrate and fall apart, assuming it's twine. I've had a pretty good amount of experience composting twine recently, but I did also get burned by putting some non-twine rope into one of my systems recently that I watched for the longest time without ever seeing any breakdown, and I ended up just pulling the stuff out. I don't even know what kind of string it was in the end, but you know, I even bought some grit down here from the wormery for them, some pulverized eggshell, which I guess we're gonna give to them by simply sprinkling it out onto the top surface. Usually I try to incorporate it into the feeding, but the chance for that has pretty much come and gone at this point since we blended everything in already. I think the worms are going to appreciate this nice healthy portion of grit. They usually do. They usually seem to appreciate it. So that's why I figured we would just bring some up from downstairs to make sure we include a little bit in today's feeding as well. So I think that's pretty much it for today's check-in with the outdoor worm bag. Another pretty quick check-in. So let's start bringing back the super thick piece of plywood that we're going to cover up with here, as well as the decorative piece of plywood that covers that, and we'll be done here. So before I go, really quick, let me just say thank you. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, as always, please don't forget to leave me a quick thumbs up before you go. That's always really appreciated. And if you haven't done so already, please also consider subscribing to the channel. That's very much appreciated as well. All right, everyone, thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye now.